That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, we're going to go through and talk about some must bench running backs. We're going to talk about some must start running backs. We're trying out something new here because usually we make these two separate videos, but I wanted to definitely go through and talk about those players that were falling down our rankings and going up our rankings. And we can really only make 2 videos a day, or YouTube just completely hates us. They already hate us for making 2 videos a day and live streaming every night. So make sure, if you want to see these videos, because they're probably not going to pop up on your recommended page, to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button, drop that like, and let me go through and pick a couple winners from the last video to give away some Fantasy Flock Network hats. Y'all know that every single video we are giving away multiple hats for people who are leaving comments on every video. It's just my way to get back to y'all because y'all have been absurd supporting this channel, and I just owe y'all everything in the world. So the easiest thing I can do is go buy like 500 hats, say we're giving them away all for completely free. Just make sure you're dropping those likes, subscribing to the channel, and also leave those comments so you get entered in. And if you want additional daily entries to win these Fantasy Flock Network hats, make sure you go make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, where we're doing some intriguing player props to go along with it. I mean, just drafts almost every night. So let's go through and show the hat off and pick up David Frey with our first, I don't even know what we're going to call this, but anyway, our first giveaway. Flock hat, please. Great call on Mike Williams last week, firing him up against Kansas City again this week. Great call with the matchup. And then Nick saying, would you stack Stafford with both Kupp and Robert Woods? Also, you're a bona fide stud for sending me my future flock hat. Okay, that's pretty funny, my friend, but I guess it ended up working out for you. And yeah, I would definitely love to double stack Matthew Stafford with both Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. All y'all need to do is go to the description of the video, send me an email with your YouTube account you left that comment with, saying, Mason, I want a flock hat. Here's my physical address so I can send that to you ASAP. And let's go through and let's get into these players. And our first running back on this list is going to be Devin Singletary, calling him a must bench player this week. Okay, there are a couple things going on here with Devin Singletary. We have to remember that the production we have seen this season, at least in week 1, this was a game where Zach Moss did not play. So I really think that the usage that we had from Devin Singletary in week 1, I mean, just take that usage, crumble it up into a ball, throw it out the window, because it doesn't simply matter. I mean, when you have Zach Moss, who, yes, Zach Moss is at this point looking like the complementary running back to Devin Singletary, who may be the lead running back in Buffalo right now. I mean, even this past week, Devin Singletary had a fantastic stat line, and I know a lot of people in the live streams that we do every night have been asking me, oh, Mason, should I be starting Devin Singletary or should I be going through and starting Myles Gaskin? And I'm saying, please don't fall into this Devin Singletary production trap, because if you look at the fantasy points at the end of the week, yes, Devin Singletary has been a mid running back too, but I mean, going back and talking not only about week 1, where we have to throw that out the window based on the fact that you're looking at it in a situation that, I mean, Zach Moss wasn't there, but also in week 2, we have to remember that Buffalo came out and dropped 35 points, and the Miami Dolphins put up a total of 0. In a situation like that, of course, they're going to be running the ball over and over and over and over again. And even in that situation, Devin Singletary comes away with 13 carries. It's not what you want to be betting on. I mean, that was the best game possible for Devin Singletary. Now, he does break off a long run. He makes me lose a couple prop bets that we did on Underdog Fantasy this week. But anyway, I mean, we ended up having 83 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, 2 receptions, and 9 receiving yards to go along with it. So yeah, I mean, the production for Devin Singletary is there. The problem is you're looking at the production in the context of the game that was played, and it's a lot less impressive, combined with the fact that Zach Moss was getting all the goal line usage here. Let's not shy away from the fact that Zach Moss had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the rushing touchdowns for Zach Moss are a lot more predictable than they are for Devin Singletary, because the Zach Moss touchdowns came in the goal line. I mean, at the goal line. Whereas Devin Singletary busted off that long play. And unless your name is Derrick Henry, I'm not going to be expecting you to have a significantly high breakaway run percentage, especially if you're Devin Singletary, because I know Devin Singletary is that small, shifty running back, so he makes you want to think that he's fast. But if you go and look at his NFL 40 time from that 2019 NFL draft class, oh, Devin Singletary, not that fast of a running back. So, I mean, those long touchdowns are not going to be predictable going forward. I mean, this is a running back that I have no interest in starting whatsoever. I actually had Devin Singletary on one of our must draft running back videos based on the fact that you could get him in like the second to last round of your draft, and he just was going to be a committee running back on the best offense, one of the best offenses in football. So I like having both Zach Moss and Devin Singletary on my roster. I think you will get these random spikes from them, but a big thing is you're just rostering them going, okay, well, if Zach Moss is out, then Devin Singletary is a must start. If Devin Singletary is out, Zach Moss is a must start. That's how you have to be viewing this situation. Now, our next running back is actually going to be a running back backfield because right now we are unsure with the injury to Darrell Henderson. So on this list, you cannot start Darrell Henderson or Sony Michel. I don't care who's starting for the Los Angeles Rams this week. The Rams running back is not going to be a guy that you can go and jam in against an elite Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense. Literally, this Rams run defense is the best run defense in the entire NFL. It's not even going to be close. And also, Tampa, they are slight favorites in this game against the Los Angeles Rams. I was actually expecting that they were going to be favored by like 4 points according to Las Vegas, and I thought we were going to take the under on that, but no. I mean, right now they have it as the Bucs -1.5. With that line, I think we can just go a couple different ways, but what I do want to be focusing in on with Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel here is the fact that if this game is going to be close between these two offenses, you should be expecting that Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams are going to be throwing the ball over and over and over again, which definitely makes me want to go through and start someone like Robert Woods because you should expect this passing volume to be up. And this running back backfield looked pretty good this past week because obviously Darrell Henderson leaves that game early. So you have to more so look at it with the combined touches that you had from Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. And they had over 20 carries. They had over almost 100 rushing yards, came away with the rushing touchdown as well, 3 receptions, 29 receiving yards. So that screams bell cow level running back. That screams someone you need in your starting lineup, especially when we know they're playing on one of the best offenses in the NFL. But with the matchup against Tampa, with the fact that Darrell Henderson, if he does play, is not going to be at 100% given the rib injury, I think that instead we just go through, look for other options. I literally don't have either running back ranked inside our top 24 options this week against Tampa. Tampa's the defense that you have to be benching any running back against that's not named. Let's call out the list: Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara. I mean, maybe you have to go. I mean, we can't even say you have to play Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott completely failed week 1 against Tampa as well. It's just a horrendous matchup. Now, our next running back actually had an impressive week in week 2. So, I mean, this was someone I didn't like in drafts. This is someone after week 1, I was screaming that you wanted to sell him for anything. But week 2, I was impressed. James Robinson. This past week with James Robinson, he actually comes out and shows that he is the lead back in Jacksonville, that Carlos Hyde is not someone that you really have to worry about here. He does get 11 carries out of this backfield and 3 receptions at the same time. Now, what I really want to be focusing in on, however, is the fact that this offense is just so dysfunctional, and going up against the Arizona Cardinals here, I think if you have Jacksonville being able to get this game close whatsoever, just knowing the raw amount of points that Kyler Murray is going to be able to put up at quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, this game would be close if Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence can come out and get into a shootout, and if they can just jack up the passing volume with DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault if healthy. So nothing here screams confidence for James Robinson. Also just knowing that the overall floor on this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, based on what we have seen so far against Denver and Houston to start the season, has to be very, very low. So James Robinson, not someone that I would like to start. We do have him ranked inside our top 24 running backs just because he is a lead running back on a team, and he should be seeing both usage in the receiving game as well as the running game. But still, at the end of the day, I think we would go through and look to avoid James Robinson if we can. Now, our next running back is going to go right back to that Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Los Angeles Rams game, and we're going to call it an entire running back backfield at the same time. We are going to be going through and we are going to be benching any Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back that you may have. Now, going to be a very tough matchup going up against Aaron Darnold and this overall Los Angeles Rams defense. I mean, if you go back, if you look at the fact that this team dropped like 48 points against the Atlanta Falcons this past week, you would assume that, I mean, an offense that drops 48 points just has a ton of production to go around to those running backs. And now I don't want to just be looking at Ronald Jones' stat line. I just don't want to be looking at Leonard Fournette's stat line. Instead, let's combine the two and really see what we get from it. If you combine the two, keep in mind they won this game by 4. I mean, they scored 48 points in this game. 17 carries, 79 rushing yards, 5 receptions for 33 receiving yards as well. And we know this will be a split backfield. So there's no reason whatsoever to be starting either one of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs. I mean, this is kind of why we had them on our do not draft list, and that, I mean, you're reviewing both Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette as pure committee running backs. And there was really no upside in that situation as well, because we look at a very similar situation in Buffalo and we say, well, with Devin Singletary, with Zach Moss, they're splitting this backfield 50-50. But like we said at the beginning of this video, if something occurs where Zach Moss is out, then you start Devin Singletary. If Devin Singletary is out, you start Zach Moss. you can't have that same level of confidence with these Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs, given the addition of Giovanni Bernard, understanding that Gio would slide into a role where he is definitely in a committee in this backfield if you saw an injury to either Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette. So yeah, I mean, none of these guys are startable for really any time soon. If you were going to start them, you'd have to pick the right matchup, and the right matchup is not going to be against the Los Angeles Rams, and Aaron Darnold too, of course, is just a monster. Okay, so now let's go to our next list, and this is going to be our must-start running backs of the week. And we're going to start it off with someone that I know you are so tired of hearing me talk about, Saquon Barkley. Get him in your lineups this week. He is a top 10 running back. And I have to say, if Saquon Barkley fails us this week, like if Saquon Barkley is not, just call it a top 24 running back, if he is not a top 24 running back, I have to come out and I have to probably for at least a couple days paint my face like in a clown face, wear a red nose, like buy a wig or something, and just show what a clown I am, because we're putting all our eggs in the Saquon Barkley basket right now, going, this is a running back that against a soft Atlanta Falcons defense that just gave up 48 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, no, you're not going to be expecting New York to be able to drop that many points. But, I mean, New York should have no problem moving the ball down the field to go along with this. I mean, Saquon Barkley getting 10 days of rest compared to 4 days previously because he did play on last Thursday. This would be the perfect spot for the New York Giants to take the training wheels off of Saquon Barkley, hopefully get him some more utilization in the receiving game, because this is one thing that I wanted to discuss with Saquon Barkley. We actually talked about this on last Thursday, where I really had no hesitations on drafting Saquon Barkley at the end of the first round, the beginning of the second round this season, understanding that by the time we get halfway through the year where he's fully healthy, he does have the upside to be a top 3 running back in fantasy. And I think at that price point, it makes so much sense. But the reason that we are doing that in a PPR format is based on the historical numbers that we had from Saquon Barkley, where you've seen him average over 7 targets a game before. I mean, those are Alvin Kamara level numbers. Now, that was done back with Eli Manning, so that's one concern that we have to have with maybe you don't necessarily have Daniel Jones looking to check the ball down that often. It's also a different coaching staff, different offensive coordinator. So maybe Saquon Barkley isn't getting that same level of usage in the receiving game, and that's something we should project going forward. Now, I'm hoping that's not the case. Regardless, he's someone that you have to start knowing the matchup, knowing the talent that he is. But I do want to point out that he's only had a combined 6 targets through the first 2 weeks this season. This is someone that used to average over 7 targets a game. So I really hope that we get the utilization for Saquon Barkley bumped up. I hope Daniel Jones scrambles a little less. But of course, I know that people who are planning on starting Daniel Jones this week, they are wanting the exact opposite here. And now our next running back is actually going to be a running back backfield of must-start guys depending on what happens. Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. Okay, so here with Josh Jacobs, as of now, he is quote-unquote very questionable at the time of this recording. I'd imagine that Josh Jacobs maybe doesn't play against Miami, knowing that this is a game that I think the Raiders should be able to confidently win to go along with this. I mean, just Josh Jacobs dealing with a multitude of injuries right now. It's not just one thing, so I think it would make a lot of sense for the Raiders to get him right. But if Jacobs does play, you have to start Josh Jacobs knowing that he is going to have a decent amount of opportunities in the red zone, knowing that he was the #1 running back last year that was getting carries inside the 20-yard line. That's why I was willing to get him in the 5th round of drafts this season. I mean, it already kind of paid off with us seeing that in a limited week of action against the Baltimore Ravens, where he was in and out of the game with his injuries. I mean, he still was able to come away with 2 rushing touchdowns, just knowing when they get to the red zone, they're handing it over and over and over again to Josh Jacobs. And Kenyon Drake here, I'm still going to be rolling within a PPR format. I mean, you saw the receiving game usage look extremely safe last week in a week that Josh Jacobs was missing. Also, I mean, we didn't get the goal line rush that we were looking for Kenyon Drake. We didn't get that goal line touchdown, but you have to remember that this is a team that really didn't have that many opportunities in the red zone, knowing that they were able to put up points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the points they put up, I mean, didn't come in from a running back punching it in on the 1-yard line. Instead, came through the air. I mean, we all remember the Henry Ruggs long ball touchdown. So here with Kenyon Drake, kind of had exactly what we were talking about. I mean, you had it where he was getting all the targets out of his backfield. Possibly he still has that role in the red zone. And this is assuming Josh Jacobs is not healthy enough to go this week. So I think that whoever the starting running back is for Las Vegas this week, whether it's Josh Jacobs, whether it's Kenyon Drake, that's a guy that you have to start going up against Miami, as we just saw Miami give up 3 rushing touchdowns to the Buffalo running backs last week with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. I mean, they gave up that big play to Devin Singletary at the same time. I want to say that Kenyon Drake probably a better running back than Devin Singletary, and if they just lost 35-0, Tua Tagovailoa has already been ruled out this week. Should be a spot that I mean, the Raiders win this game confidently. Now, our next running back is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, after a disappointing week this past week, and with Carson Wentz's health just uncertain at the time of this recording, I know it could be a little concerning to go through and jam in Jonathan Taylor, but we have to remember, last week, who did he go up against? I mean, who was Jonathan Taylor playing? Oh, right, the Los Angeles Rams, a very scary defense that we shouldn't be attacking. I mean, here you did have 15 carries. One thing that's concerning is he only had 1 reception, but if you go back to what we actually had in week 1 in this offense, I mean, Josh Jacobs was getting the utilization in his receiving game. We had that as well in 2020, especially at the end of the season. We just know that this week going up against the Tennessee Titans could be definitely a much better spot, as we have seen the Tennessee Titans give up back-to-back really high-scoring performances to the opposing offense. I mean, yes, it was with Kyler Murray. Yes, it was with Russell Wilson against Tennessee, so it's a lot harder to say that you're going to have either one of Carson Wentz or Jacob Eason going up and putting a similar type performance. But still, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I just want to reiterate, because we've had a lot of questions out in the live stream as of late saying, oh, what am I doing with Jonathan Taylor? Please don't panic based on a very tough matchup that he had against the Los Angeles Rams. Still a must-start guy for you every single week. I mean, I'm not worried at all. And now our last running back on this list, I'm not going to say he's a must-start option. I just want to talk about him briefly, considering the fact that we've had a lot of questions about him in the live stream. A lot of people are wondering, and I think that we should have included him in our buy low running back video. Javonte Williams. Okay, so with Javonte Williams coming up against the New York Jets this week, right now you actually have Denver as 10.5-point team favorites over the New York Jets, which I'll say if y'all go over to our sports betting flock channel, you'll see that we really like to take the Jets plus 10.5 points here. But regardless, Vegas is projecting that this game is going to be a complete blowout, where you actually have Denver having no problem putting up points against the New York Jets defense. And here, I mean, Javonte Williams already taking that role from Melvin Gordon. I was expecting that Melvin Gordon would be the starting running back through the first 4 or 5 weeks here. And then after that, that's when you have Javonte Williams splitting this backfield 50-50 for a couple weeks, then taking that lead job. Well, I mean, Javonte Williams this past week comes out and he has 13 carries, splits his backfield 50-50 with Melvin Gordon, 64 rushing yards, a reception, and 10 receiving yards out of the backfield as well. This should be a very easy performance, just considering the fact that, I mean, you could see this team leaning on the run in the second half. So I don't want to call Javonte Williams a must start, because he is still definitely in a committee, and that's not going to be something we're wanting to jam in. But I just want to say, if you're desperate right now, like if you're saying that, well, Mason, I mean, my running back 2 is going to be Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson misses this week. I don't want to play Sony Michel. Mason, I don't want to play Leonard Fournette. Then go Javonte Williams. I mean, here Javonte Williams just in a plus matchup, a great running back, and an offense that's looked pretty damn good so far, which is surprising. I expect them to take a step back, but still I think Javonte would be a clear play. Now, thank you. I really hope y'all enjoy this video. Make sure you go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out to our live streams that we do every single night, and drop that comment with any questions you may have. That way you can get entered in to win a Fantasy Flock Network hat. We have an embarrassing amount of these. I mean, my mom got pretty mad at me seeing how much money I spent on these hats. But regardless, make sure you go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Have a great day.